Please call the roll.
Commissioners Cavell,
Here.
Erickson Galt, Gershenson, Gingell, Hoffman, Johnson,
Present.
Joliet,
Present.
Long,
Here.
Lubes, Markham, Miller,
Here.
Nelson is absent with notice, right? Yeah, still not here. Powell. Here. Rahman is absent with notice. Smith Charles.
Present.
Spiz.
Present.
Taylor.
Here.
Whitebert.
Here.
Woodward.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. The invocation this morning will be led by the Honorable Phil Whitebert, and so followed by the invocation, it will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, we come before you, thank you for this day, the days that have passed, and for every day to come. We are thankful for the liberty and prosperity with which we have been blessed. We thank you for protecting the men and women serving in our armed forces and the tremendous sacrifices that they have made in the defense of our country. We especially thank you for those who have given their lives for the freedom that we enjoy today. We pray for those that are serving beyond our borders today and ask for their protection and safe return to their families and to our communities. We pray for those that are serving in public office today, that we will be men and women of integrity. We ask that you grant us the wisdom in fulfilling our duties. We ask that you teach us to follow your godly wisdom. We pray for the business of the day that is before us now and ask that you be with each of us in these proceedings and that in the decisions that we need to be made today. We thank you, and we offer this prayer in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we go on, if commissioners can just be reminded, even though we might be able to hear you, if you're not speaking close to the mic, those watching afar or in the future will not be able to hear you. So remember to make sure your mic is on when you're speaking and speak in relatively close proximity of the microphone. Next up, we've got the approval of the minutes from September 5th. I'm going to get a motion by Commissioner Long, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. 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 Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the minutes have been adopted unanimously. Next up is the approval of the agenda as presented, moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that the agenda has been approved. Next up is communications, and I will ask the clerk to read us any communications.
Yep, we have two today. First is dated July 11th, 2024, addressed to David Coulter. David, thank you for the opportunity to serve as the Oakland County representative to the Board of Directors of the Detroit Institute of Arts. I would like to resign my position effective immediately. Should you need further assistance, please contact my daughter, Barbara Rose Costello, at our office center management. And gave phone numbers. Very best wishes, Thomas Costello. And the second doesn't have a date, but again, addressed to Dave Coulter. Dear Dave, please allow this letter to serve as my resignation from the Oakland County Art Institute Authority Board of Directors. As your appointee, I understand that you will keep this letter on file at the county. Sincerely, Bo Chang.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to receive and file the communications? Moved by Commissioner Lube, seconded by Commissioner Joliet. Many of us who worked on the creation of the Detroit Institute of Arts, the Oakland County Arts Authority that led to the millage that supports the DIA, know Tom Costello very well, passionate advocate for the arts, a former state senator, and a long-term friend, and we thank him for his service on the DIA board. From a clarification point of view, it's the Arts Authority Board that makes the appointments to the DIA. Part of our Articles of Incorporation in agreement with the DIA is that Oakland County has two slots, And we'll make sure that these are also forwarded to the Art Authority. The Art Authority met earlier this week and appointed 2 individuals to fill those 2 slots, one being Mr. Dave Flynn, which I think a lot of us know as well, that was involved in that effort, as well as Bo Chang. And that's why we see the resignation of Bo Chang from the Art Authority, because you can't serve on the Art Authority and the DIA board per our Articles of Incorporation. So Bo Chang was an appointee of the county executive, and so the county executive will be appointed to fill that seat. So in context of that, just ask that the clerk make sure that we can send forward these communications to the Art Authority as well, so that they have them, and not just the board here. Any further discussion on the communications? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Let the record reflect that the communications have been received unanimously. Next up, this will open up the first public comment of tonight's meeting. This is the public comment on all the items on the consent and the regular agenda, including the public hearing for the annual budget, which is one of the most principal responsibilities that we have as a board. So if anyone has any desire to speak in public comment, I got one person signed up, Mr. Roselle, you're here. So start with Mr. Roselle. He's the only one I had sign up. If there's other people, I'll just raise your hand and I'll call you to the mic and ask people to keep their comments directed to me and limited to 3 minutes. Perfect. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many of you know me as the county's election director. I'm here today with another hat that I wear, and that is as the head of the UAW here that represents 860 employees that serve the citizens and taxpayers of our county. And while you consider the county's budget today, I would tell you that while the union continues and has continued since we appeared before you last in good faith negotiations with the county's administration, we have yet to reach a deal. We feel that our last proposal was very fair. It equates to approximately 46 cents an hour per UAW member. We are off by less than $1 million a year at where the county's proposal is and where our proposal is. This is not about winning or losing. Negotiations don't work. In my opinion, a successful negotiation is when both sides walk away from the table upset. I feel that that's where we're at right now, but you have to understand we're negotiating with the administration, and it's this board that has the purse strings and controls the budget. So we are asking for a commitment to get us across the finish line, to get what we need to close this contract before it expires at the end of this month, and before 860 members no longer have a collective bargaining agreement. What we're asking for is not unreasonable. What we're asking for keeps us up with inflation. We have made concessions in areas that the county has asked us to make concessions in that I am confident I can sell my membership on at a ratification vote. But we need a commitment from this board, and it's not a lot of money, to move us across the finish line to get the contract that we need that will give the hardworking folks of this county a fair contract. The UAW represents some of the lowest wage earners in this county, all the way up to some of the highest wage earners in this county. And regardless of where that member is on that spectrum, they all deserve the right to have a decent wage and to be able to participate and enjoy providing for their family and their children. So I would just ask that you please, although you're in a, we're not negotiating directly with you, you consider this as we move forward through this budget process and later this month. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else for this first public comment on any items on the agenda? On the agenda. Seeing none. All in favor say, okay, well, there's no vote. We will close the first public comment and move us to reports of standing committees. We'll start with the consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Moved by Commissioner Loeb, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Is there any discussion on any of the items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote. So I'm going to ask everyone to try something if you haven't yet. If your prompt isn't coming up, there's a little e-vote at the top. Hit e-vote and see if that works. Did it work?
No, didn't come through.
It said she already voted. Well, how did you vote?
Commissioner Gershenson?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The consent agenda is adopted. This will now move us to the regular agenda. And first up, I will recognize the Chair of Economic Development and Infrastructure Committee, the Honorable Yolanda Smith-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am before you with 13A, donation of surplus county office supplies pilot program.
Moved by Commissioner Smith-Charles, seconded by Commissioner Spiz. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote. Did you vote?
Didn't come through.
Can you
All right,
what,
Commissioner
hit
Ginzel?
e-vote?
Yeah, it's saying that it's giving me a huge yard test vote.
Oh,
Okay,
all right.
and,
I'm a yes.
thank you. Commissioner Gershenson?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next up is 13B, the purchase agreement for the sale of 9.53 acres of vacant land on Dixie Highway in Independence Township.
Moved by Commissioner Smith-Charles, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion? Commissioner Long.
Thank you. So in committee and econ, I voted no on this. I just think that we should just keep it on the for sale side of it because we're losing. It's assessed at 1.8 million and we're getting 1.1 million. So that's $700,000 that we can use for different items. So I personally don't think we should sell it for that much of a loss right now. So I voted no in committee and I'm going to vote no today. And we could use the $700,000 for the union.
Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Long. Any further discussion? Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Chairman Woodward. Yeah, I know too that in 2007, as the Great Recession was coming upon us, we paid $2,383,000 for it. Now we're selling it for $1.1 million. I think maybe there's a different way to market it. Maybe we should try to, because property's gone up in value over the last few years. I can't believe that it's only worth $1.1 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. I mean, per our purchasing policy that we, I believe, had a appraisal, probably 2 appraisals for this, or at least 1 appraisal for this, and that's the, value that's out there, and this is what it's being, where there's an offer for. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
I'd also make 2 points, which is number 1, the market will always correct. So if no one's put in an offer for 1.8, nobody wants it for 1.8. Also, the fact that if we were to sell it, if this passes today, this piece of land will go back into the tax roll. So, at least we'd be getting something instead of it just sitting there doing nothing. But that's all I had, Chair.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I mean, we discussed this quite a bit in committee. It's regrettable that it is a loss. I don't have the number in front of me, but I think I ran it through the CBI inflation calculator, and the equivalent purchase price is like 3.5 million in 2024 dollars. And I think, I'm happy to offload the land. I just think that this is a good example of the reckless spending of the previous administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought we were going to have more juicy discussion on other items. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on the purchase agreement.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas, 5 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
That concludes the regular agenda items for EDI.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have finance, and so I will call the chair of the Honorable Gwen Markham. I think first up, and I think I misspoke earlier, public comment was for everything. I think per statute, we need to open up another public hearing specifically around the county budget. So I'm going to declare that public hearing open at 10:29. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on the overall budget that we are about to consider adopting following this public hearing? See none, I will close the public hearing and recognize Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. Before I start, I just want to speak a little bit about the process that we went through. We had many hearings and meetings, and the people who did the work for us to be able to do that, the departments, the department staff, our board staff, and then all of the commissioners, especially on the Finance Committee, but also the other committees who really did the work to bring this budget together. I just want to thank everybody for the great work that you did. I've been finance chair for 4 years now, and I feel like this process ran the smoothest as any of the years that I've been chair. So I appreciate the hard work that everybody did from the fiscal department and management and budget, to the health department, to everybody that provided input. So thank you very much. And with that, I will, we can clap. With that, I will move item 14B, the fiscal year 2025 General Appropriations Act and 2025 County General Property Tax Rates.
Moved by Commissioner Markham, seconded by Commissioner Powell. And then I believe we have a few amendments. Can everyone just give me 30 seconds? We can probably take a recess for 30 seconds. Don't get out of your seats.
Okay. I really don't. I hate shoes. I was walking out of the house today saying, I just hate shoes. Yeah.
All right, I'll declare us out of recess. It's related to the First Amendment that's up here, and I just wanted to clarify because we've done it different ways over the years. I will call on Commissioner Johnson for the First Amendment that's already loaded on your devices. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to introduce and move amendment titled Tri-Party Road Improvement Program.
Moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Long. This was the item that I just wanted to clarify. I spoke in caucus. In the past, we have assigned and then appropriated. This is written to appropriate it. It'll be appropriated non-departmental, but it's specifically outlined that the money is not released until it comes back through the board through our normal process. And so I just needed clarification that that was written correctly. So this is a program for those who are watching at home. This has been a long-standing, successful program, a partnership between the Road Commission, local communities, and the county to fix, repair, build roads that lie in the jurisdiction of all three. And I'm glad to allocate these resources to help fix and build more roads. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Commissioner Miller? Yes. Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voted in the affirmative. The amendment is adopted. Next up, I'll recognize Commissioner Joliet.
I'd like to introduce and move the amendment for Township Special Assessment District Road Repair Partnership with the Road Commission for Oakland County.
Moved by Commissioner Joliet, seconded by Commissioner Smith-Charles. Any discussion? Commissioner Joliet, do you want to just describe again what it is?
Oh, okay. Yes, so this program was approved 2 years ago, and it's to aid in the reconstruction, repaving of township subdivision roads in conjunction with an SAD that the residents are responsible for individually.
Great. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Well, I guess I can.
Do we have to?
I just did it. I just did it. It's so much faster. How about this? Why don't we take that back? Why don't we just prompt the vote so it pops up in the system? So, okay, yeah, sorry. I just. So, hey, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote on that. Do not hear what just happened.
I'm liking the little Evo box up there. That's good.
Right.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays.
And it was unanimous as I heard it. But yes, sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The amendment is adopted. And next, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Lenny Taylor.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce and move the amendment to the Local Road Improvement Program.
Moved by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Miller. Any discussion? And this is the third, I guess the second oldest road program, but the third amendment to support the building of roads across our local communities. Commissioner Cavell.
Just wanted to lift up, if memory serves, our old colleague Gary McGillivray was integral in starting this, right?
It was, yes, Commissioner McGillivray was the architect of the original LRIP program. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to make a comment that for those out there that are listening, we just allocated $6 million of board funding for roads. And we think they're a priority, and I want the public to know that we do that every year with this.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes, I did vote.
It didn't come through. Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays.
A sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The amendment is adopted. Now officially $6 million.
Right.
Roads.
Technically, you're
Yes.
correct.
I mean, I like the filling of time. Next up, I will recognize Commissioner Powell.
Chair, I would like to submit the amendment summary for the feed small business loan program.
Yes, this is an amendment to assign $250,000 to continue the Oakland County Microloan Program in partnership with SEED. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Cavell. Any discussion? Seeing none. The microloan program is a program that actually this board was instrumental in creating in 2009. Monies that we set aside are leveraged with the Federal Small Business Administration. I believe it's about a 7 to 8, a 1 to 7 to 8 match from the feds, that those dollars are eligible to be loaned out to local firms up to $50,000 in our community. And since the inception of this program, over 100 of these loans have been made out to, over 100 loans have done supporting the creation of new jobs and retaining of others. Commissioner Long.
Yes, I like this program. I just wondered, it would probably come to economic development, but do we get a report on these ever? I don't remember seeing one for a while, like what businesses. I think that would be nice for
Certainly,
all,
yeah.
just to see what businesses in our communities got some money,
Yeah.
you know, receive some money. So I would like, if we could, get a report.
Sir,
We do.
Is it that document that was shared?
Yeah,
Can we
I
make
thought it
sure they
was
see
already
that?
distributed, but yes,
Yeah.
so there is a
We have a
up-to-date.
document for you all to review.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
I'd like to just see where
It'll
the
come to,
communities-
we talked about this in the Democratic caucus about having SEED come forward, because SEED right now is helping support 2 programs, lending products for small businesses in Oakland County. There is an update report from years 2009 through now of how many of these loans have been granted. The reason for these funds, again, this is an assignment, not an appropriations yet. A contract will be developed with the appropriate benchmarks going forward. This is for the loan loss reserve that's required to be able to run these programs. But before the end of this meeting, I will make sure that we get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I think
But
all-
we'll come to committee as well.
Everyone would probably like to see one. I
Yep.
think.
Yes,
See what
Chair.
communities.
I
Thank
just
you.
asked staff to make sure they share with
perfect.
the Republican caucus.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 17 yeas, 0 nays.
Sufficient number voted in the affirmative. The amendment is adopted. Next up, I'll recognize the Honorable Commissioner Gingell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to propose and move an amendment to the budget, really in relative to our decision today to make choices. So within the budget, what we do is go through and look at our philosophies and our priorities, and then we assign dollars to those line items in conjunction with the administration. But it's this board that can pick and choose and prioritize that spending, as we always have had the ability to do so. And so my amendment really gets to the fact of freeing up some money to allow the administration more flexibility in negotiating with the United Auto Workers Union, 800 and some of our employees, as you heard today, so that we make the choice and we prioritize getting a deal done with our UAW members over other things. Now, in my amendment, I suggested other things, other line items that I think could be reduced, but there certainly could be others if someone feels more pressed on that. For instance, I see Savvy on our meeting notes from the board caucus announcements. We chose to put $500,000 in a software platform to help people remove student debt. It's important. We're not required to do that, right? We're putting money in SEED and other things that are super important, but we're not required to do that by statute. So this motion and this amendment is really to say that we intend to demonstrate from the board's perspective that prioritizing county employees, particularly in this case in the UAW, is important. We don't want to interfere with the negotiations between the union and the UAW and the administration, but we want to send a message to the UAW members and our administration that we can provide them flexibility to come to an amicable deal, and that's what this amendment's all about. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Gingell. The amendment's been moved by Commissioner Gingell. Was there a second? Did I record a second? Seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Any further discussion? Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate, and I'm all for if there's departments or initiatives that we've done and put money into, if there's excess, right? The one thing I don't agree with is just picking in choosing which ones without the ramification. We've put, as you said, 500,000 in the Savvy. So if we took money out of there and that fails, that means we wasted the money we put in there in the beginning. So I would be more open to, if there was more research, Commissioner Gingell, and say, hey, these departments or these initiatives have excess of dollars, can we move them over here? I would be more open to that conversation. And I appreciate the looking at it like, well, how can we move it around to pay higher wages? I get that. But we're not at the detriment of like ruining or killing an initiative that we might have put millions of dollars in. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Any further discussion? Commissioner Cavell.
Just to say, I think Ann told me this when we were talking about this in caucus. So Ann, you're spitting fire today. You're great. But what's interesting,
I don't think she approves said disclaimer.
Okay, all right. Someone in the
Continue,
caucus-
Commissioner
all
Cavell.
right. What was interesting is that these $1 million in cuts, if you think about the county budget, 65–70% of our budget is allocated to staff to implement the programs and priorities of the government. So these $1 million in cuts would cut a lot of staff, likely including UAW workers. So this seems nefarious.
Thank you, Commissioner Cavell. Commissioner Gingell for a second time.
Thank you very much. I just want to respond to that because I think it's an uneducated statement that is beyond nefarious. So if you look at line items that are being proposed around programs and items within the Board of Commissioners of Special Projects, I do not believe there is any material impact on FTEs as a result of the line items. However, as I mentioned earlier, it's not about the specific line items to me. I've proposed some and recommended some. If there are other better ideas, I would be open to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gingell. I'm going to speak and comment to this. I'm going to be voting no on this amendment for a few things. The way that it's cloaked, I am troubled by. I will put my reputation, my record, and the votes of this board over the last 5 years, having developed the most pro-labor governing body and the most pro-labor county in all of Michigan, and to suggest in any way that we're not, by not supporting this, that we're not supporting those values is wrong. Furthermore, I strongly believe and support the work that we're doing as it relates to diversity, equity, inclusion, to sustainability, to the special projects, things that have ranged everything from spearheading free and reduced lunch programs across Oakland County to water fountains that we've put into schools to ensure that there's safe drinking water for our kids. These are things that I'm not willing to compromise, including housing. Building more affordable housing, attainable housing, worker housing across the state. And I think this amendment is draconian in its as is currently written. This board historically has also, when necessary, are prepared to make the very tough decisions, are prepared to make the cuts, and have in the past when the conditions and the need arose. And we have a budget process that we're adopting a budget today, and we will continue to revisit this existing budget every quarter as we do, through the quarterly report and reallocation of resources to achieve the objectives reflected in here. And as we prepare for the next budget from a 3-year budgeting process, a 5-year forecast, as the traditions that's been in Oakland County almost the entire time that I've been on this board. And so I'll be voting no, but all commissioners should be encouraged and welcome to engage in the budgetary process on a regular basis. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Loops. Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas, 6 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The amendment, a sufficient voting not in the affirmative.
Right? 11 nays, yeah. Okay.
You said it right. I said it wrong. Strike 2 for me this evening, or this morning. See? Nope, 3. There we go. It's over. Without a sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the amendment fails. Are there any further amendments to the fiscal year 24-25 budget? Seeing none, is there any discussion on the budget as a whole? Commissioner Gingell.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Just in light of the last amendment, in my opinion, as a single commissioner, the priorities and the philosophies that we're supporting in this budget, one over the other, I'm going to be a no vote on this budget. Not that I don't think there's been a lot of good work. I think there has been a lot of good work. But as an individual, some of the prioritizations that we're making, I'm not aligned with. And so I'll be a no vote. However, should things come to an amicable conclusion with the contract negotiations, et cetera, as is our process, if the unanimous budget is important, I'd be happy to reconsider it at the next meeting if that's something that's needed, provided there's an amicable resolution. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just with the caveat that I trust that the ongoing negotiations will find a good, reasonable conclusion soon. Putting that aside, I want to commend my colleague, Commissioner Chair Markham. This is a wonderful budget. This is demonstrative of Oakland County's record as being the best form and the best example of good governance in the state of Michigan and frankly, among the best in the country. We are maintaining a AAA bond rating because of budgets like these. We are able to innovate in the good governance space because of budgets like these. We're able to showcase what we can do to our local CBTs and just really push the boundaries of what government can be. And I'd like to thank you for your tireless work for crafting a budget that I'm proud to vote for.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's right.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion on the budget? I would give just a couple comments, high level, and I think Commissioner Johnson said it. I think the work of the committee to put the hours and time into literally going line by line and in discussing with every department the decisions and how dollars are being allocated, the need for additional dollars, and the priorities collectively as a county. This is a budget that reflects, a truth in budgeting standard that we established in this board, that the dollars coming in equal the dollars going out. It funds every county operation, whether statutory or determined to be a priority, to ensure that we are delivering for the people that call Oakland County home. This budget includes the support for public health, for our public safety, for our Parks and Rec department, Veteran Affairs, and in so many other services that are vitally important that day in and day out support the priorities of Oakland County, but also provide absolutely essential services to the residents of Oakland County. I will also say that as a county, I am proud of our determination to invest in our employees. I look forward to continuing to invest in our employees. They are the individuals that make this county work. The services and programs that we do are not possible, and so having good wages, having good benefits is a priority and a principal objective, and I look forward to continuing to live into those beliefs and those values with this budget and subsequent budgets thereafter. So I will be voting for this budget enthusiastically. Any further discussion? See none. Madam Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Commissioner Powell? Mr. Chair, you have 15 yeas, 2 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The fiscal year 24-25 budget is adopted. along with the 25 to 27 budget, 3-year budget. So, congratulations, Commissioner Markham, on a job well done. Commissioner Markham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes the business of the Finance Committee for today.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, I will call the Chair of the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee, the Honorable Brendan Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just one item today from the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee. Mr. Chair, I move the adoption of a proposed hybrid work policy as a standing workplace policy and to authorize human resources to pursue companion policies and practices enhancing flexibility and work-life balance for on-site employees.
Moved by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion? Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's no surprise that I do not support the hybrid thought process. Most of the public sector, private sector, sorry, is going back to work. GM is bringing everybody back. Amazon's bringing everybody back next year. And for us to put this in place through a vote versus having the sunset on it like we had in the past, to me is a mistake. Because ultimately, we're going to be back in this room in the future and have to change it, because when the rest of the world goes back to full-time work, we're going to have to do the same thing. So I will be voting no, and I will continue to vote no on a hybrid work schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Spiz. Any further discussion? Commissioner Powell.
I just want to say I object to that of my colleague. I think that I work in, well, he's talking about the private sector. I'm in the public sector still, and I think this is great. My day job is working for the city of Pontiac, and I've been trying to encourage them to do the same, because in that space of competitiveness and recruiting workers, hybrid is the thing, and that is one of the self-motivating things for people to come work. And just that flexibility of just the life-work balance and what is going on post-COVID is something that was needed, and I'm happy that the county is. And guess what? If we need to revisit that in the future, I know that we can revisit it in the future. But as of right now, I think this is great, and I thank my colleagues who are supporting it.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Cavell.
I just want to mention, and to everyone watching or seeing this or participating in this, all of us here work remote and hybrid, so feels kind of hypocritical, Mike.
Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioner Johnson, followed by Commissioner Gingell, then Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just I want to commend our HR department. I've had several discussions with our HR director and their staff, and this is an instance where I think you can see really most clearly where we're responding to the real world as the real world happens. I'm constantly asking them to look at what are academics learning about hybrid workplace, because we're all still kind of inventing the wheel or inventing the plane as we fly it since COVID. And they've done a really good job of watching what is happening across all industries, private and public. And I think we've witnessed how a lot of private sector, specifically companies, have tried and failed to bring folks back. We've seen mass resignations when companies have tried to bring employees back. And then also, I will say, as we're looking toward our physical footprint in the future, where we've got all these buildings that we're considering downsizing or moving or shifting around, I do think that having a permanent hybrid policy affords us significant flexibility and tremendous future cost savings that will end up paying themselves off. So I appreciate the forward thinking of this. And as a note to folks watching at home or anything like that, this is not a universal policy. This is just allowing our departments to individually have the flexibility to create their own workplace policies. So obviously, our nurses who have to be in the health department can't do that from home, but a lot of our administrative staff can do things from home too. And I just think that that's a really great thing that we're responding to, especially when we've realized that this has tangible benefits for specifically women and the LGBT community. I'm excited about this. Anyway, I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Gingell for a first time, and then Commissioner Spiz for a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say, being in the private sector, there's no good solution for this, and I do agree with Commissioner Spiz. Many of the private sector companies are mandating employees to come back. I think over the next several months, based on the economic trends, the market will move to a more employer-driven market than employee-driven market. So I think the aptitude of trying to bring people back in will grow. However, that being said, I think Commissioner Johnson did make some good points around our ability to save in regards to facilities and real estate by not needing the footprint. And then I would also ask that our HR department use this to market the county. We're competing with the private sector, and flexibility is going to continue to remain important to those in the workplace. And if we're providing it and others aren't, that's something on the positive side of our ledger where we might be at a deficit in other pieces, such as comp and things like that.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Gingell. Commissioner Spiz for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As for being hypocritical, I don't know if I could go that far as the comments from Commissioner Cavell, who I know has a day job, and as I do, and I know my day job in the private sector is back to work, as is most of the people in the auto industry are back to work, and everybody else is going that direction. And to Commissioner Johnson's comments about, reducing our footprint, great. Then why are we spending $20 million on a new facility in Pontiac if we're reducing our footprint? Do we really need to do that? Maybe we should reconsider that, and maybe not spend that money, and maybe we could reallocate some of those monies into a different part of our budget so we can help our employees. There's many different avenues to go here, but from my perspective, this is very short-sighted, and we will be back in this room in the near future, and we will be reconsidering this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote.
It's a fait accompli. I know. And the person who put it on the regular agenda isn't even here today. I love that.
Mr. Chair, there are 13 yeas, 4 nays.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. That concludes the report of the Legislative Affairs and Government Operations Committee.
Thank you very much. Next up, I will call on the Chair of the Public Health and Safety Committee, the Honorable Penny Lubes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have 4 items under our Public Health and Safety Committee meeting this morning. The first is an acceptance of a donation for 2 support canine dogs named Maggie and Chip.
Moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Spiz. Any discussion? Commissioner Ann Erickson-Gault.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to comment before Commissioner Cavell told me what my comment was. I voted against this in committee because I had questions about the process for how this was coming before us. And I had questions about why we have 13 dogs and are now expanding it to 15 dogs. And it was never criticism of the worth of the endeavor. And I appreciate the Sheriff's Department providing me with additional information on how these dogs are being used and the goodwill and excellent service that they're providing to our communities. And so I will be supporting this now. However, I am still concerned about the process of accepting gifts in this manner, and we'll be watching closely in the future and cannot guarantee that going forward I would support a similar additional request.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Cavell.
I just want to say I couldn't say it better myself.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am in full support of this. I think the Comfort Dogs have been a great addition to our community as a whole. What the Sheriff's Department has done in this area, I think, is leading the country. For those of you that challenge it or question it, I ask you to go out to Oxford High School. I ask you to go out to Oxford Fire Department. I actually ask you to go to the Sheriff's Department and talk to some of the sheriff deputies that have seen some of those incidences at Oxford, Rochester Hills, etc., and some of the ones they see on a regular basis. And I believe somebody mentioned the jail. I think it was Commissioner Miller in caucus. These are essential, in my opinion, to our community. And from my perspective, I don't think we can ever have enough comfort dogs. And I know there's a few commissioners that think that on other topics. I know Commissioner Cavell believes that for attainable housing or affordable housing, you never can have enough. And I know Commissioner Markham believes in parks, you can never have enough. I believe in comfort dogs, we can never have enough. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Commissioner Spiz said, well, let me branch off this first. Is Oakland County always has a reputation of helping out other communities and branching off our knowledge or our services to other communities, which leads into Genesee County Sheriff Swanson acquired a dog from Sheriff Bouchard, and I've been in the jail, not arrested, let's just start there first, but many a times for their graduations, and just to see the dog with the families in the graduation and the inmates, right, that actually did their due diligence to get a CDL or certified welder license or their diploma. It just speaks volumes, and the money we pay for that, it doesn't amount to the lives it saves and the mental health that it saves, especially as Commissioner Spiz said in Oxford, right? So I'm all for this. The process is the process. We could look at that afterwards, but I'm hoping commissioners look at this as this is a learning lesson, and the sheriff's office, this is a learning lesson. We'll go through the process next time, but I don't want to deter from saving somebody mentally when they could just be in contact with one of these animals and change their whole perspective of life. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Commissioner Joliet? Yes. Commissioner Cavell?
No.
Mr. Chair, there are 16 yeas, 1 nay.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative. Maggie and Chip are officially part of the Oakland County family. Commissioner Lubes.
Thank you. I would like to move the grant acceptance from the state of Michigan for the fiscal year 2025 Automobile Theft Prevention Authority Program.
Moved by Commissioner Lubes, supported by Commissioner Gingell. Any discussion? Seeing, Commissioner Cavell? Commissioner Ann Erickson Gull first, followed by Commissioner Charlie Cavell.
Thank you, Chair. I supported this in committee with reservations because I am concerned. I had questions about what the purpose and focus of this program was, given especially the tragedy of the loss of our officer in service of this program. I fully support investigating and preventing auto theft crime. That is an absolutely worthy goal that our county should be pursuing. My concern is the focus of the program recovering stolen items? And I want to take a closer look at this. I thank the Sheriff's Department for providing us with some additional information on this. I will be watching it closely, and I will be asking for regular reports on this. I absolutely don't think we should ever be putting our officers in the line of danger just to recover items which are likely insured and replaceable. We should absolutely be prosecuting and investigating and prosecuting crime, but we should not be an arm of the insurance industry recovering stolen goods and putting our officers in the line of danger. So that's why I raise questions, but I will be supporting it because I think the goals of crime prevention and prosecution of crimes is very important.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Cavell.
Ann, actually, I had the same concerns as Ann, but she lifted up the insurance component, right? Deputy Reckling passing away while at work in this unit gave me pause. And then Ann saying this, what she said about the insurance component in committee made me very assured that the cost of life is not worth the cars that our deputies are trying to recover. So I think we need to look more into this, and we need to make sure that we're keeping track of what these 7 people that work in this unit are doing so that we can preserve life and protect Oakland County residents. But again, not at the cost of what Ann said. So I'm voting no.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hoffman.
It's called Thou Shalt Not Steal. And law enforcement's job is to enforce the laws. But to say we're not going to pursue a crime because the person might have insurance?
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Smith-Charles.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was discussed in our Democratic caucus today, which really resonated with me. Auto theft is a bad thing. We don't want people getting their cars stolen. I think the line that we're drawing is that we don't want to put officers or deputies in harm's way to retrieve something that isn't life. You can't bring a life back. So I'm supporting of this today because I want to make sure we have resources, but I'd love for the sheriff and just first responders, law enforcement, not to have to, go into dark spaces and retrieve things that could cost them their lives. So to me, it's not a matter of not fighting crime. It's a matter of where do we draw the line as far as putting these officers and deputies in harm's way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. And I'm supportive of this, and I just want to respond. I am supportive of this, but I think that the conversation that we're having is completely valid and should be had. In my day job at the state, I deal a lot with state organizations and associations, and one of those is the Retailers Association. And one of the big things that I've been working on with them over the last few years has been retail theft. I didn't understand it at first, but after they explained to me how critical it is to teach all of their employees to just let thievery happen for the sake of protecting all of their lives, that has hit me really hard. And I understand now that obviously we don't want to encourage people to go into CVS and just take all the deodorant they can, but I also really, really value the life of all of those employees more than confronting and stopping the deodorant theft. So I mean, yes, obviously completely agree that crimes are crimes and we should dissuade and punish those who perpetrate, but I also, the respect for life conversation is worth having, and I appreciate that we're having it.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion on the resolution? See none, Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Mr. Chair, there are 15 yeas, 2 nays.
Sufficient number voted in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Commissioner Lubes.
Our next item is an amendment to the Unlocking Doors Oakland County policy and reduce the allocated American Rescue Plan local coronavirus recovery funds.
Moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Any discussion? Commissioner Spiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just point of order, because my amendment's after item D, and I think C and D are tied to each other to a degree. And if you look at the wording in the amendment to see it, it does specify where those funds would go. So should my amendment be taken up prior to voting on this one versus voting on D, or should they be taken together? See my point?
I hear what you're saying. Let me look at the specific language in the resolution here. One second.
But it says in C where it's going to go.
To the policy. Is it, here we go. Sorry.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
the item C is removing 100,000
Yeah, I'm
from
sorry.
the unlocking
But it
doors,
says
and the
in the
amendment
amendment-
relates
In
to
the,
what?
in the description, it says it's what it's being used for, so it's not, yeah, so the action we're taking is just literally the money.
I agree, but I just want to make sure that it says it's going to be moved to shelter capacity, which is item D, which means they're accepting it, so, which my amendment wants to push it somewhere else. So that is my question, where should my amendment be taken? Should we put this one or the?
I think it's the next one. I mean, if we want, I'm comfortable tabling, postponing action on this one and jumping to the next one if you want to do that one first. But
Fair.
at the end of the day, the action we're taking here is just taking $100,000.
And I fully agree with that, it's just that the wording that's in the amendment specifies where it's going to go.
Trying to, one second here. How about this? If your amendment passes, let's move this forward. If your amendment passes, we will come back and reconsider this, and we'll take it up and make the corrections.
Fair.
Fair? Okay, good, all right. So, moved by Commissioner, do we have moved and seconded. Any discussion on this? So this is, yes, this is the amending the unlocking doors policy amendment is moving $100,000 from this. This is just from a context perspective when people at home, we set money aside to give some assurances to landlords that rent to individuals that rely on a HUD voucher to help offset costs for housing. And should a property be damaged as a result of that, some dollars set aside to repair that, to encourage more landlords to be open to accepting HUD vouchers. The good news is this fund almost never gets touched because those with the HUD vouchers are not more or less likely to damage property than any other person out there. And I look forward to this fund not being used very much. It frees up some dollars that other priorities that our neighborhood and community department have identified. Any further discussion? See none. Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote.
Commissioner Smith Charles?
About what this is? So, clarification. So the Unlocking Doors program, we set money aside. These dollars were available for offsetting should damage occur for someone, to a landlord, for someone who uses a HUD voucher to achieve housing. Very little of these funds have been used, and there's excess funds, and so we're taking $100,000 from that to something else.
Mr. Chair, there are 15 yeas, 2 nays.
A sufficient number voted in the affirmative. The resolution is adopted. Commissioner Lubes.
Thank you. The next item is reallocation of American Rescue Plan Act local fiscal recovery funds for emergency shelter capacity and operations, and we do have an amendment.
Moved by Commissioner Lubes, seconded by Commissioner Ann Iverson Galt. And we do have an amendment. Commissioner Spiz, on your, Commissioner Spiz moves the amendment, seconded by Commissioner Hoffman. Commissioner Spiz, on your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My amendment is slightly different than what I presented in caucus. I did modify it slightly, but I'm looking to reallocate that $100,000 versus going into shelters, which already has $7 million plus in it, is to move it to the food pantries, all food pantries within Oakland County, and be allocated based on the volume that they help.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Commissioner Cavell.
just based on what Commissioner Johnson was asking, Oakland County has 14 to 20 food pantries, so $100,000 going to them. I'm not good at math, but that's not very much money. And just using one pantry as an example, Lighthouse spends about $20,000 a week for food. And as Commissioner Powell said in committee, one, we've spent a lot of ARPA money, millions of dollars for food security. And then second, as Commissioner Powell said, making a holistic strategy and a well thought out plan seems more thoughtful and well thought out.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Spiz for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just for the record, I do support a larger, more holistic plan, as Commissioner Cavell said, but at this point, I think the $100,000 would be better used somewhere else than going into something that already has $7 million in it to support.
Right. I'm going to speak to, well, Commissioner Powell first, and then I'll speak.
I just wanted to make note. Thank you, Commissioner Cavell, but from the horse's mouth. I basically stated I have several pantries in my city, in the city of Pontiac, and Oakland Hope sits in my district.
So Commissioner Powell, the amendment has been modified to be $100,000 for all food pantries in Oakland County.
That's great, but I just want to still support what I stated, and that's why Spears brought that back with that amendment, to make sure we cover everyone throughout Oakland County. But Oakland Hope, if we were to just give all that money to Oakland Hope, I am sure that all the other pantries, because I still think that most of them sit in my city or my district, will be calling me, and it'll be a conflict because we need to share the wealth. So yes, we do need to look at a comprehensive study of all of this project, and I'm excited that our commissioners are still open to the conversation, but I am not in support of this amendment currently without further discussion, but it is something that is an emergency. I just think we need more time to discuss and deliberate on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Two things, my reaction. I think addressing food insecurity is a very important thing. I think if you look in totality of all of our programs, from Veteran Affairs to our housing development to the allocation of our community development block grants, the allocation of our ARPA dollars, I think Oakland County's record of supporting this is incredible, including helping build capacity of some of our food pantries. The recommendation of our community development and housing department is to use this $100,000, which we moved from the other housing-related project, to increase capacity in the coming months for short-term shelters, and the 40 to 50 additional beds that will be supported through the winter, and winter is coming, to add, again, extra capacity to be able to do this, and using these dollars with the months ahead that we know are going to get colder pretty quickly, to be able to provide a warm, safe place for people to sleep, to help more people seek a warm and safe place to sleep in these winter months. Addressing the broader $7 million that this board, I'm very proud in making the largest investment in shelter capacity, increasing capacity so that there's more space for homeless families. There's more place for families with children. There's more places and more beds permanently in our shelter system across Oakland County. And those $7 million are spoken for from an infrastructure purpose, which is building, I mean, that process is being built out a number of years. And so I don't think it's appropriate to really conflate the two. This $100,000 is freed up because we are moving dollars from another program that is likely not to be used to support something that is clearly an emergency need that we're staring down. And we are also continuing to provide significant dollars to food insecurity. I couldn't agree more about the need. I've served on a regional board representing Oakland County with our emergency food and shelter program facilitated by United Way, but working with the 3 counties. Considerable amount of money, I would say half the money, more than half the money goes for food insecurity. There is a recognition that the need is still greater. Even in the wealthiest county in Michigan, food insecurity is real. And I think getting a figuring out like what is that need and then developing the long-term strategy to be able to meet that need is something that is possible. We can end hunger in Oakland County. It's a tangible goal. We have the resources to do it, and we just need to figure how to do it. $100,000 isn't going to do it. It's going to be a lot more than that. But I'm committed, and all commissioners who are interested, encourage you to let's come together who those are interested, and put a plan together and work together to identify funding to support food insecurity. But I will be voting against this amendment because I think it is appropriate to use those $100,000 to create that additional 40 to 50 beds that are necessary to address the homeless need in our county over the next coming months. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote on the amendment.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 yeas, 10 nays.
Sufficient number not voting in the affirmative, the amendment fails. It brings us back to the main motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please prompt the vote on the reallocation of funds for the emergency shelter capacity and operations.
Mr. Chair, there are 16 yeas, 1 nay.
Sufficient number voting in the affirmative, the resolution is adopted. Commissioner Lubes.
That concludes the report of the Public Health and Safety Committee, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that concludes all of our standing committees business. Under new and miscellaneous business, I don't think there is any announcements. I will move us to announcements. Are there any announcements? Commissioners. Commissioner Long.
I just want to say thank you to the staff for this wonderful, fast report. I asked and I received within 30 seconons, so thank you, staff.
There we go. Yes, the seed report is out there. I have to give compliments to Commissioner Powell that brought me into a meeting and sharing some of that information verbally to put it down. Ask Seed to put it together I think is very helpful and tells a pretty significant story on how we've been supporting small businesses. I was a little taken back that 2009 is when we started it, and some of us are still here. Commissioner Gingell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank the board and convey gratitude from the owners of Palazzo de Bocce. They had the U.S. Bocce tournament this week. Commissioner Gershenson was there. Some others might have dropped in, but they were talking about 400 to 500 attendees. And I did have the chance to get some feedback from one of the local hotels. I think it was 140 or 104, I think it was 140 rooms were all sold out. The restaurants were busy. So the sponsorship was to help drive economic and development and visibility in Oakland County. And the initial reports are that it looks like it absolutely did that. So I appreciate the board's support. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Powell.
I just again want to make note that myself and Commissioner Childs was able to go to the Congressional Black Caucus Conference. It was an amazing event for us, and I'm so happy that I've asked Chairman for us to have a minor but more presence there, just in our representation and doing wonderful things here in Oakland County from a cultural perspective. So again, thank you, Chairman, for approving that request, and I will be going every year. And I also want to let my colleagues know I've been appointed as a board member for the NAPCO. It branches off with all the black elected officials from county representation across, and it branches from NACO. So I am now a board member of that, and that it secures my spot at CBC now to make sure we are informed there. So thank you again.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Powell. Thank you for your service in those increased leadership roles. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we're going to go to our second public comment. This is the public comment that people are invited to speak on any issue on the agenda, off the agenda, under the sun. So I will just start by those who signed up, and if you didn't sign up, I'll just recognize you after I've gone through the list of people who have, and I will start with one of my constituents, Sue Maloney. Welcome, Sue. I get the opportunity to see Sue doing all this great yard work while I'm heading out. So, Sue, it's good to see you here.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Can everyone hear me? First of all, I think we're going to need Maggie and Chip to come on into the Board of Commissioner meetings so that we can pet them, and I'm glad I'm not the commissioner that voted against the dogs. Anyway, on to a more serious matter. You know what? For months now, I would have sworn that David Woodward had become the Secretary of State for the United States of America. You know what? We are taking a lot of this body's time to talk about things that we have no business talking about, including in public comment. You know, I'm very passionate about all the people that are dying from fentanyl, which is coming over the border because we aren't enforcing our border. But you know what? I don't get my friends and family to come here every meeting and talk about it. Why? Because there's issues that Oakland County can control and the commissioners need to know about, that this is how this time should be taken. Listen, I'm not commenting on the commitment and the sadness of the people behind me that are going to speak after me. But I am telling you, this body doesn't have anything to do with it. I wish they did, but they don't. And you know what? I don't think that people down the list who come here to talk about a legitimate subject that you all can have input on and take and, you know, maybe sponsor it, it's important. Those people aren't being encouraged to come here because for 2 hours now, we're going to talk about something happening a half a world away. Now, you know what? I'd just like to say, and you guys don't even have to listen to this because you can't do anything about it. Hamas is a terrorist group. Hamas is the one who attacked Israel. The Palestinians put their faith in Hamas, a terrorist group, to represent them. They took millions of dollars from the United States of America, donated to them to build a network of tunnels where they've held over 100 hostages and recently killed an American hostage whose name is Hirsch Goldberg Poland. You know what? You guys have nothing to do with this. I'm just saying, United States of America, never mind. I'm done.
Thank you.
That is my thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to break protocol because I want to, and so I think you bring this point to surface. This Oakland County is all of our government here, and public comment not only is it statutorily required, anyone can come and speak on any topic under the sun. And I mean, I'm a little disappointed because you spent half your time talking about the very thing that you say that people shouldn't be coming here to talk about. And what I want to say is that anybody can talk about anything and is always welcome here. And this board will sit here and listen with earnest on any topic that people want to speak about. And so everyone is always welcome here. And I will, with that, move on to the next speaker. David Finkel.
Good morning. I'm with Jewish Voice for Peace Detroit. Every time we come here, the situation has become more catastrophic than it was the last time. In particular, as I'm sure you know from the news, the slide towards a potential full-scale war between Israel and Lebanon has increased, a war that no one wants, a war which would drag the United States in and which would affect Oakland County and every other county in Michigan and the United States. It would create many, many things that would force this board and every other local and county board to look at its budget and many, many, many other things. In the meantime, the situation in Gaza is increasingly catastrophic. As I think I mentioned last time, it is increasingly clear, and everyone in Israel knows, that the government of Israel is entirely indifferent to the fate of the hostages, that the hostages will be sacrificed on the altar of continuing the mass slaughter in Gaza, which most medical estimates now believe the death toll will certainly be many, many times the official 40 or 41,000. It will be in the hundreds of thousands when this is over, if it's ever over, if it's not already there. Now, you may know that Senator Bernie Sanders has introduced a resolution of disapproval in the United States Senate to disapprove and block the $20 billion in additional arms funding that the Biden administration has proposed for Israel. It is ceasefire resolutions in local bodies and county bodies like this one that would send a message to our Michigan United States senators about how they should vote on this resolution and on other efforts to create a lasting permanent ceasefire in Gaza. So it is relevant what this board and others like it do or don't do has an effect on the United States Senate and ultimately has an effect on what is happening in the Middle East. It's not half a world away. A century ago, maybe you could say it was half a world away. It's not a half a world away. It's right on our doorstep. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, I have Nabel Sater, followed by Carolina Melendez. Nabel, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Nabil Said. I'm from Oakland County, but today I'm reading on behalf of Dr. Ala Ali from Oakland County. A physician just came back from Gaza just a little while ago. So this is the word. My name is Ala Ali, MD. I'm a proud Gazan Palestinian American, a medical doctor who lives in Oakland County and owns businesses for over a decade. I'm the medical director of multiple medical centers and a member of many organizations. I forgive you. These were the last words that my cousin Amal, peace be upon her soul, said to me over the phone while dying from septic shock and hyperglycemic ketoacidosis due to lack of medical care. My cousin, her husband, and their children stayed in North Gaza, refusing to leave their home, no matter the conditions or the consequences. She has been diabetic for a long period of time and was struggling to control her sugar level. She would often get into the hyperglycemic status, forcing her to be on an insulin drip. And her last episode was no different from prior ones. Her family tried to take her to the hospital, hoping that they might find some sort of medical assistance. However, on the way to the hospital, they were targeted by the Israeli occupation forces, and Amal received a bullet to her leg and was prevented from going to the hospital by the IOF, by the Israeli official, by the occupation forces. The family tried to control the bleeding, but within an hour, she went into septic shock with diabetic ketoacidosis. My cousin Amal, which means hope, said, "I forgive you." I was thinking why these were her last words. What is it that we're supposed to do and we didn't do to be forgiven? Amal has forgiven us, but what about the other 200,000 between killed and brutally injured? Are they going to forgive us? My brother Muhammad, who I have not seen in 20 years, was hoping I'll be able to come home to Gaza to see him and his family this year. He was the first to perish at the beginning of the genocide. My sister-in-law's parents, brothers, sisters, and their family of 17 were evacuated and were hosted at our house in Gaza by my brother, where my brother Muhammad and his wife lived. The bombing and the airstrike continued, and people were ordered to move to the south. And her family decided to go to the south, and her dad wanted to take her with him. My brother said to his wife that he cannot tell her what to do because every place in Gaza is a target, and she needed to make her choice. She chose to stay with her husband and told her father that she had no intention of leaving. Her father kept insisting on taking her. She believed she'll be murdered with her young children, 4 young children. Then Muhammad, my brother, went to get water, but never to come back. He was shot and killed by the Israeli occupation forces while trying to get water for his family. My brother went out looking for water. Sorry. The story continues on. Over 120 of our extended family members were brutally slaughtered. My dad's cousin was taken to prison 10 months back only to be returned as a body for doing nothing. My other cousin was in the north and his house was bombed. His son, Suhail, bled in his arms for 8 hours until he died. Over 4,000 limb amputation took place since genocide.
Thank you very much, sir. Carolina Melendez, followed by Suhair Ghanem. Is Carolina still here? Oh, here. Welcome.
Good morning. I am Carolina Melendez, and I am Oakland County. We, Oakland County, have described to you the Israeli atrocities and massacre of the people of Gaza for many months now. The intentional starvation of little children, the amputations and other surgeries without anesthesia, the blowing up of civilians in safe zones, and the depraved killing of kids while waiting for a ration of food or while offering their prayers, and so on and so on. And you are choosing to ignore us. Do these acts sound like war crimes to you? Well, they are. And since the end goal of Israel is the extermination of the Palestinian people, this is genocide. Please don't be like the Germans of the 30s and 40s who didn't know what was happening. No excuses now. In this globalized world, whoever wants to see the truth of what is happening can do so. Our main media is complicit in the genocide by giving us only the Israeli pre-approved version of the so-called war, because our media is paid by the ones who profit the most from this. What great business, right? What a shame. You don't believe us? Or are war profits also more important for you than human lives? If you need some history of Palestine and Israel, please read or hear the renowned Israeli historian Ilan Pappé, who served by the IDF and was a Zionist himself until he discovered firsthand the atrocities of his own country. There are books available everywhere. The ethnic cleansing of Palestine, the biggest prison on earth. Read the report of the Italian UN international lawyer Francesca Albanese, Anatomy of a Genocide, based on her investigation of the war on Gaza many months ago. Why we have international organizations for human rights if we don't respect them and want to sanction them if they disagree with our geopolitical interests? Those institutions are not there to defend white supremacy or Western states' imperialism. They are there to defend humanity, and they are starting to do so. Israelis' atrocities are escalating. They want a regional war paid by all of us. I am asking you, Commissioner Woodward and Commissioner Hershenson, you were elected through a democratic process. You have been commissioners for a very long time. You have nothing to lose. Are you going to do the right thing and embrace democracy? We are asking for a democratic process to take place in this board of commissioners. Nothing else. Just let democracy work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Suhair Ghanem, followed by Mike Flores.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. I keep asking myself why our elected officials in this county have not voted for a ceasefire resolution when war crimes continue to be committed every day and the situation keep getting worse. A research report published by Pew Research Center on September 19, 2023, this is exactly a year ago on the date, on the dismal views of American politics. One recurrent theme that keeps coming up from the surveyed adults that elected officials are not in touch with the people they represented, and they do not advocate for the issues that matter to their constituents. Elected officials are too influenced by money and are corrupt. Their end goals are personal and not for the benefit and betterment of the voters who elected them. What is stopping this commission to respond to our community that is traumatized by the war crimes committed against our families in the occupied territories? I want to read a poem by the late Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish as a reminder to all of our shared humanity. As you prepare your breakfast meal, think of how others feel. Don't forget to feed the hungry pigeon. As you wage wars with guns, think of the other ones. Do not forget those who seek peace. As you pay for your running water, think of someone's son or daughter, those who are nursed by the clouds. As you return home to your home, think of others. Do not forget the people who live in tents. As you lay your head to sleep, think of others, those who have no place to sleep. As you let your words run free, think of others, those who have lost their voice and right to speak. As you think of others far away, think of yourself. Say, if only I could be a candle in the dark. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Flores, followed by Kazi Afzal.
Buenos días. Good morning. Mi nombre es Mike Flores de Hazel Park y yo soy Oakland County. I stand before you today to recognize Hispanic Heritage Month and once again call on this body to support a ceasefire resolution that reflects our Oakland County values. As Latinos, our history is deeply connected to the Palestinian suffrage and suffragists across the world. We share a common history of colonialism, displacement, and genocide. Histories of people stripped from their homelands, cultures erased, and identities marginalized. Much like the Palestinians today, many of our families have endured the trauma of being forcibly uprooted, denied our right to self-determination, and treated as second-class citizens in our own lands and foreign lands. In fact, my own family's history and story is a reflection of this shared experience. My father, a Salvadorian refugee, was forced to flee his homeland, ironically, due to U.S. foreign policies and weapons supplied by the IDF to support the military regimes of Central America. Those regimes displaced countless families across El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and beyond. My mother's family, too, came to this country from Nicaragua under diplomatic privileges, escaping the violence that many faced. This is not just my family's story. It is a story of millions of people throughout Latin America, victim of wars and dictatorships that were often fueled by foreign powers and arms, much like the Palestinians face today. From Guatemala to Honduras, from Chile to El Salvador, we know what it feels like to be caught in the crossfires of global powers that treat our lives as disposable. And today, we see the same brutal reality in Palestine, where families are torn apart, homes are demolished, and generations are traumatized by an endless cycle of violence. This is why, and many others, will continue to come and demand for peace, diplomacy, and support a ceasefire. Our shared histories of colonialism and displacement binds us together. And we know that if we do not speak from our positions of privilege, if I do not speak from my position of privilege, we are complicit in the very system of oppression that have harmed our own communities for generations. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, let us remember the words of other powerful movements. From the LGBTQ+ community, there is no pride for some of us without the liberation of all of us. From the women's movement, speak your mind even if your voice shakes. And from the Black freedom movement, in the words of John Lewis, get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and help redeem the soul of America. Today I speak my mind, my voice may shake, but I will continue to call for justice, to demand for a ceasefire, for peace, and to fight for liberation of all people. To conclude, I ask the following question to Commissioner Woodward and to Commissioner Gurchison and all commissioners present. When will you bring forward a ceasefire resolution to this floor?
Thank you. Are you done?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Kazi Afzal, followed by Saida.
Good morning, commissioners and all others here. I'm Kazi Afzal. I am Oakland County. The petition to support a ceasefire resolution by Oakland County seat of government gathered a very large support in 1 week. The commission is discussing budget here today. By supporting what we have been asking for months, this commission can help itself with additional funds by not having billions sent to other countries of our money. The money sent are used to build settlements, which are illegal by international organizations, classified by international organizations, gross violations of human rights, killings, and other atrocities. On the contrary, if the money stayed within our borders, it can help our healthcare system. The UAW was here negotiating last time. Our environmental services to reduce the carbon footprint, which is destroying our planet. Social services to help us all, education system to build America and our future generations, social services, veterans, and many other social security is another big one. I'm going to read some names here today, which are all from Oakland County, who are calling on all of you sitting here in front of me, that's the commissioners here, to put the ceasefire resolution to a vote. Aaron Farmington Hills, Asia Farmington Hills, Adrian Novi, Afaf Troy, FIFA Farmington Hills, Afrain Novi, Afroz Farmington Hills, Ahmed Troy, Ahmed Farndell, Alan Novi, Alicia Troy, Alimullah Rochester, Alina West Bloomfield, Alfonso Lake Orion, Ali Royal Oak, Alia Farmington, Allison Hawley from Hawley, Alsney from Clarkston, Alisa Rochester, Amal Farmington Hills, Amia Novi, Amy Canton, Amjad Novi, Amrit Farndell, Amy Farndell, Anna Highland, Andrea Farndell, Angela Rutherford, Angela Farndell, Angelina Royal Oak, Anissa Farndell, Anne Royal Oak, Anthony Hazel Park, Ariz Hazel Park, Arshad from Commerce Township, Asim Farmington Hills, Asim from Troy, Aisha Bloomfield Hills, Azam Farmington, Ozzy Farmington, Bella Oxford, Berkeley Ferndale, Bilal Southfield, Bilkis Novi, Brianna Oak Park, Callie Ferndale, Carlos Ferndale, Carolina Novi, Cassandra Ferndale, Celia Ferndale, Shiley Southfield, Charlotte Southfield, Cheryl Rochester Hills, Christina Ferndale, Colby Berkeley, Dottie Rochester, Danny Ferndale, Dima West Bloomfield, Dina Royal Oak, Dominic Birmingham, Don Huntington Woods, Elizabeth Waterford, Emily Auburn Hills, Emily Holland, Enamel Novi, Eugenia Royal Oak, Fahad Farmington, Farah Novi. So the list goes on and on. I don't need to read everything, but it's not only us, it's a very wide community that are in support, and I hope you understand. Please bring it to vote. Thank you
very much. Sayyida Afzal, welcome. And then Aliyah Malik next.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Saida Faiz. I'm from Novi. I'm Oakland County. I'm going to continue the listing of the petitioner signers. Tanya Farmington Hills, Tom Bloomfield Hills, Triantafil Ferndale, Wakar, Farmington Hills, Varisha Waterford, Wasia Troy, Yasmin West Bloomfield, Yusur, Oakland County, Zafar, Novi, Zainab, Novi, Zach, Troy, Zakia, Troy, Zonash, West Bloomfield, Kimberly, Berkeley, Michael, Rochester, Kim Mahmood, Nordville, Amen, Troy, Samantha, Ferndale, Monica, Novi, Rob, Novi, Faisuddin, Farmington Hills, Aiden, Farmington Hills, Deanna, Troy, Shafkat, Farmington Hills, Gazal, Bloomfield Hills, Elliott, Pontiac, Ashley, Wixom, Christina, Royal Oak, Hadil, Bloomfield Hills, Lamis, Farmington Hills, Malika, Southfield, Aziza, Novi, Mahrukh, Royal Oak, Isabella, Berkeley, Ishtiak, Novi, Maiko, Novi, Melody, Royal Oak, Izzy, Rochester, Arib, Novi, Anna, Ferndale, Jasmine, Royal Oak, Blair, Ferndale, Brent, Auburn Hills. Colleen, Ferndale, Elisa, Hazel Park, Jen, Pontiac, Muhammad, Troy, Sayed, Troy, Ray, Novi, Masood, Roy, Nisar, Rochester, Sophia, Ferndale, Mikhail, Farmington, Robert, Bloomfield Hills, Nora, Rochester Hills, Farah, West Bloomfield Township, Sophia, Troy, Mel, Lake Orion, Firdaus, Troy, Faizan, Rochester, Aisha, Farmington Hills, Suzanne, Troy, Saba, Troy, Zuhab, Farmington Hills, Sarah, Novi, Hanan, West Bloomfield Hills, Arshad, Novi, Ishaq, Novi, Uzma, Bloomfield Hills, Shazia, Bloomfield Hills, Wasaf, Farmington Hills, Vanessa, Pontiac, Kaula, Farmington, Noor, Novi, George, Troy, Shayesta, Troy, Khalid, West Bloomfield, West Bloomfield, Hasib, Novi, Liana, Royal Oak, Mariam, Nordville, Margaret, Rochester Hills, Hamid, Wixom, Ayman, West Bloomfield, Andrea, Novi, Basil, Southfield. Leah, Ferndale, Liana, Ferndale, Liana, Canton, Luana, Novi, Lubna, Troy, Lees, West Bloomfield, Safe, Troy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Aaliyah.
Good morning. My name is Alia Malik, and I am Oakland County. Like Ghazi and Seda, I will also be reading the names, the list of signatories. They are as follows: Nabila Bloomfield Hills, Nahid West Bloomfield, Nancy Madison Heights, Nancy Bloomfield Hills, Nathaniel Troy, Nazir Wixom, Nick Clarkston, Noor in Waterford, RK in Ferndale, Raquel in Troy at Royal Oak, Rachel in Troy, Rahaf in Farmington, Ramath in Farmington Hills, Rania in Bloomfield Hills, Rasil in Madison Heights, Reem in Troy, Ruby in West Bloomfield, Rokhaya in Oxford, Seba in Rochester, Sabia in Highland, Sadaf in Farmington Hills, Sadia in Troy, Safa in West Bloomfield, Rochester Hills, I have Salma and Salam, Salim in Oak Park, Sam in Ferndale, Sarwat in Troy, Sadir in Clawson, Shabana in Bloomfield Hills, Shanur in Rochester Hills, Steve in Clarkston, Subia in Madison Heights, Sohair in Royal Oak. And the list goes on and on. I can confidently and proudly say that our democracy is winning. Our resolution supporting humanity, peace, ceasefires worldwide has received over 500 signatories in less than a week. Extremely impressive indeed. And so I ask once again for Commissioner Woodward and Gershenson to bring the resolution to a vote, because remember the words of Martin Luther King Jr. He stated, "The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over by the good people, for we will all be judged by history." And unfortunately, the first speaker has left, but I do want to make this point. We are responsible. Our tax dollars are going to are killing innocent children and women, 71% of them, and men. They're being raped. And While my heart and all of our heart goes out to Hirsch Goldberg, what about the heart that should go out to Aysenur AC, who was an American shot to death by an Israeli army? We are committed constituents. We will not stop. We will not rest. We are witnessing Holocaust 2.0. But one thing I will agree with Commissioner Woodward, you would make an amazing Secretary of State. Thank you.
Thank you all. Is there anybody? Well, there's another person. Before I get there, just 1 second. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, I've got Commissioner Bob Hoffman under public comment, and Commissioner, stay on task. We can speak during the meeting.
Thank you.
It's sometimes
very
gone
much,
off. Right.
Chairman Woodward.
Yes.
And we all know that everything in life is percentages. We get concerned about mortgages when they go over 7%. We get concerned about inflation when it's 10 or 12%. And I've always supported Oakland County Parks. But this commission has voted to put a tax increase on of 85%. We want to raise the millage rate 85% and make it a 20-year millage rate. And it'll raise $24 million the first year. And I say the first year because under Proposal A, our taxes go up every year, 5% of the rate of inflation, whatever is lower. The last couple of years it's been 5%. Next year I think it's predicted to go up just a little over 3%. And we are told that the average cost to an average homeowner in Oakland County would be an additional $40. But that doesn't count 30,000 acres of farmland, industrial, retail, non-homesteaded apartments. And I've always said this for many years. Businesses don't pay taxes. They collect them, and they pass it on to the government. Then they have to raise their prices, as we all know, and of course that's why that adds to inflation. But I am not in favor of this. I don't think it's prudent government, and unless, of course, Oakland County is going to stand up and be open, honest, and transparent and tell the taxpayers of Oakland County we favor 85% increase in our property taxes for the parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Any further public comment? Seeing none, we will stand adjourned until October 10th, 2024, or call the chair.